Hi, thanks for coming back to my little crafty secret. For this video, I am sharing what I received in the 7-Set Stamp card kit and also just a few projects that I created with it. I picked up the coordinating dies, which are not part of the card kit, and unfortunately at the end here I realized that I did not share the stencil that also came with the card kit. It's a slimline, full slimline size stencil for a sun. And I think my favorite part of this card kit collection is the tea roller. Was really cool. And these papers are interesting. They actually kind of made me sad. The way they look, it looks very, just reminiscent of summer and feeling sad, and it was kind of hard to use them because of that. And the stamp set, it is like, in my opinion, more childish, for like a young child or like a baby sort of. And I was just trying to get my head wrapped around how I wanted to use this card kit. So the stamp set that I pulled in is also from Simon Says Stamp, and I decided to use something that was rainbow themed. And I didn't know what color would look really nice, so I decided to stamp in separate colors and just kind of figure it out as I go. I also stamped and cut out a few of the clouds and the moon there. I did that off camera. So now I'm just assembling the card and making it look just the way that I like it. And I didn't cut out the clouds perfectly, so I'm kind of putting them in a way so that you don't see my imperfect die cutting. And of course, once I found the right position, I go ahead and glue the sentiment down first, and then I take off the foam tape that I have already mounted on the back of each of the clouds and also the moon there. Now tell me what you think. I used to score every single sheet of paper when making a card base, and I decided not to do that anymore. It just seems like for the lighter weight card bases, there's no need to score. Of course, for the heavier weight, I do, but in this case, I didn't. I just fold it in half and crease it down with my fingers. Now, once I put glue on my card panel there, I just stick it onto the card base, and then I take a scrap of the paper and stick it on the inside because I am not leaving any scraps behind, and that finishes the first card project. For this next card, I bring in another Simon Says Stamp set, and this is a newer set, and I really like this set. I've made several cards already, and I decided to go ahead and stamp and cut out some of the images there. Off screen, also, of course, I stamped and cut out one of the sentiments. I really like how this came out, just having the balloons. Looking back at it now, I think I probably would have used like a yellow or red balloon, but at the time I actually thought if I do it like a green and blue balloon, it would actually stand out and pop more. But the colors don't really match, so well, I still think it looks great. So I did stamp out the tails, and I was considering not to, but because the tails are also shown on the pattern paper, that was the only reason why I stamped out the tails. I actually like the balloons by themselves without the tails. You tell me what you think, with or without tails. What would you have done? So once I glue down the tails, I go ahead and glue down the sentiment, and that actually finishes out the card project. I did add a couple sequins, but yeah, it was pretty easy, and again, I like the way it came out. I always do feel kind of bad bringing in other stamp sets into a card kit that already has stamp sets, but this one was a challenge for me. Why don't you let me know in the comments, does this happen to you? Is it just me? I don't know. Okay, on to project number 3. So now that I have some scraps, I said, okay, I'm going to use my scraps, of course, and actually use the other stamps in the stamp set. And I decided to use this stamp, actually 2 of these stamps combined together. And yes, I did want to pull in another stamped image of the Let's Party stamp set. I actually end up not using the orange balloon. I actually decided to cut out 3 additional ones. You'll see here in a minute. So right about this time, I realized I actually cut the paper a little bit too wide. I didn't do my math right. These strips of paper were actually wider than what they are here, and when I did trim them down a little bit, yeah, they were too wide. So I don't know. I did the math right. Did the math wrong. But you know what? I'm going to go with it. I don't want to create more strips of paper. And I decided just to go with it and have just a white edge on the top and the bottom. Now you can't see it here, but I did have a little bit of gap between the 2 sheets of paper there, and I tried really hard to cover that little gap. It's really hard to see, so that's why I decided to use 3 of the balloons instead of 1 balloon, and it did help cover that gap. Now I did decide to kind of ship the balloons off to the side. I thought it would be kind of cute to make it look like it was floating away. That was my thought anyway. So anyway, I go ahead and start assembling the card together, starting with that bottom sentiment first. And of course, wouldn't you know, I actually end up not liking the placement of that bottom sentiment, and I carefully take it off the card and reposition it. I wanted to be more center along that main sentiment. Off camera, I did add some glossy accents to the balloon shine and also sequins and gems. Well, that completes my process video. Hopefully this gives you some inspiration for the June card kit from Simon Says Stamp. If it does, please let me know in the comments, and please take a look at the description box below to find a link to the other process videos for other card kits that I've completed. Thanks, until next time.